All right, what's up, folks? It's your boy BQ and TW here. This is the Impact Lounge YouTube channel and podcast network, and this is the Cool Factor podcast. We're going to talk Impact Wrestling. We're going to talk some news. We're going to talk a little bit of No Surrender, just our general thoughts. We're going to talk about the episode of Impact, and then after that, make sure you stay to the end because we're going to give some thoughts on Eli Drake and Ty Valkyrie heading over to NXT. Then we got a little discussion question to wrap up this show. I see you got the Lakers on in the background, and that's going to anger me to no extent throughout the entire.
Well, listen, Anthony Davis is hurt. This is Kyrie's big revenge game. So Kyrie's gonna try to get his revenge in right now. While Lakers are hurting. It's cool. We'll see him again in the finals. We'll see. In wrestling, it's always like, they have one person win the regular season matchup, and then when they fight again at the pay-per-view, which in this case is going to be the finals, the other person wins. So whoever wins this one, I'm a little nervous.
Right. The final, so we'll see about that. Conversation for another day. All right, so let's get into the Impact talk. Let's talk about this. Has kind of been talked to death a little bit on Twitter and everything the last few days. So I don't think we'll go too far into it, but the Sammie Guevara thing, there's tidbits of information that keep kind of coming out about it, to where he was supposed to show up at the Impact tapings, which would have been cool because if you watch AEW, he broke away from the inner circle, and I would have never expected him to go to Impact, and maybe fantasy booking in my head, but I'm like, well, maybe he was going to rally up some of the dudes, maybe from the X-Division or something, that were going to come, because obviously he has to fight the inner circle at some point with a group of dudes, so the possibilities for something big with Impact were there, but everyone knows pretty much what happened at this point. Rumor wise was that he wasn't cool with the creative, went directly to Scott and Don about it, which he probably at AEW can go directly to Tony about stuff, you know what I mean? So he showed up like, oh, I'm just going to say I don't want to do this. And, there was an issue where they contacted AEW, contacted Tony Khan, Chris Jericho, and then Sammie got sent home. We don't know if he was sent home by Impact or sent home by AEW, because there's kind of conflicting things with that. And then Black Taurus is replacing him in storyline angle stuff for this set of tapings, which was clear when you see next week's X-Division match that randomly has Black Taurus in there on the side of the heels. So do you got any thoughts on the Sammie stuff?
Yeah, I mean, once I saw what was going on AEW TV with him being, kind of written off the show for a little bit, and then hearing that he was supposed to show up on Impact, but didn't like the creative, so he left, which I think is a little bit of a bummer, because I think for Sammie, and for anybody, for these AEW talents that are showing up on Impact, it's a boost for Impact, and it's a boost for you too, because you're getting a chance to look like a big fish in a small pond. Yeah. When I first started watching Impact Wrestling, I remember Christian Cage was the champion there. And I was like, man, this is actually perfect for him. I was like, in WWE, he's a bit player, but this feels like the whole big fish, small pond, or however you want to say it. But this felt like a much better fit with him as a lead player in TNA, as opposed to, being a bit player in WWE. And I think, look at the way Private Party, why they got to come in and be much more of a major player just because there was someone special showing up on Impact. And I think that was an opportunity for Sammie to come in and be more of a feature player. But I'm also a fan of, protecting your character. You got to protect your character. If you feel like somebody's asking you to do something that's not going to be good for you, then it makes sense to protect your character and, ask for forgiveness later. I think AEW clearly has big plans for Sammie Guevara. So I don't think this is going to hurt him too much, but I think he probably in the long run missed an opportunity. I mean, how bad could the creative have possibly been? I don't know if he wanted to come in and win the championship or go, undefeated, beat up the whole roster or something. I don't know how bad it was. You got to be careful when information leaks out. It's always being leaked by someone to make them look better in the situation. So you always got to ask yourself, when information leaks out, who does this information benefit? So if we're hearing that Sammie didn't like the creative, and so he was basically a problem to work with, that's probably coming from someone on the Impact side, and they're probably leaking that because they didn't like the way that he handled the situation. Like what you said, him going straight to Scott and Don or whatever and expressing that he didn't like the creative and they had a problem with that. To me, that's a little weird. Like, these are adults. These aren't children. They should be able to come in and tell you. And isn't that Impact's whole selling point is, you get to have more control over your creator, over your character, and, all that other stuff. So, there's his side, there's their side, and then there's the truth, right? So, we don't really know exactly what happened, but I think in the grand scheme of things, this is a missed opportunity for Sammie because he could have come on Impact and, like I said, got a chance to really raise his profile a little bit because he would have got to be more of a feature player.
Right, absolutely. Big fish in a small pond, and you see how big Private Party feels, so I totally agree with that. But to your point, I think you are right where, Impact has always preached, or at least the wrestlers said we have all this creative freedom, but the small difference is Impact does have a creative team to where I don't think AEW does. I think the wrestlers kind of book the show a little bit. I've never heard any talk of them actually having a creative team. I'm sure there's a process, you know what I mean, where Tony Khan's a little more involved actively, but I don't think there's I think there's still a hierarchy within Impact where
there's got to be a hierarchy of some kind.
Yeah,
I think when people say like they don't have a creative team, I think what they're talking about is how we famously hear it said how WWE has like an army of writers,
right?
And you can see that comes across in the horrible dialogue that you hear on WWE programming. But like these people are like doing Shakespeare back and forth to each other. You know what I mean? Before they, and I challenge thee to a match. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think they don't have that. I think that's a big thing what they mean. But there's definitely somebody who, listen, in television you don't leave anything to chance. You don't leave anything to chance. You don't say, I'm gonna send this guy out there and send this guy out there and hope they have a good match. No, that doesn't work. No,
right.
There's a plan, and there's somebody whose job it is to say, you're doing this, you're doing this. You know what I mean? They may not give them a specific script, but somebody is specifically designing the storyline, how it's supposed to play out, what's supposed to be, expressed or whatever, and and what type of, how to get their message across. Right? There's a plan. There's a producer, and for every segment. So there's definitely a creative team.
Yeah, so I hear that. It's not hard to imagine him and maybe taking. I'm totally fantasy booking here. I get it, but it's not hard to imagine from this X-Division match, which I would assume he was in instead of Black Taurus. It's not hard to imagine him taking Josh Alexander and Ace Austin and maybe Madman Fulton, a couple of these dudes to face the Inner Circle. It's not hard to believe that was a possibility. I don't know though. I mean, I'm strictly
that could have been a thing. I could see something like that happening, but I feel like AEW and Impact are doing a really good job of not blowing their load on this thing. You know what I mean? They're not like, we're gonna just like I said, they're not doing an invasion angle or a big Impact versus AEW supercard. Like they're not blowing their load on this. Like this is a relationship, you know what I mean? This isn't a one night stand, you know what I mean? Like, they're working through this. They're going to go back and forth. There'll be some guys here, some guys there. There's a common thread right now with the Bullet Club, and so this is going to be there. You know what I mean? I think this is great, man. This is awesome. This is really awesome for everybody involved. So I think ultimately this is Sammie's loss, because I think as a professional, it's up to you to find a way to make the most of it. And I think that, like I said, this would have been good for Sammie because he would have got to come be. If Sammie Guevara walked out on Impact, he would have been a big deal. He would have been a big deal. There would have been a spike in ratings, which there was anyway. But he would have been out there. He would have been able to take credit for it. He'd have been saying, "Hey, I show up on Impact. They pulled their highest rating since December." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would have been big for him. So I think it's one of those things where you got to do what you got to do to protect your character. But I think ultimately this was a missed opportunity for Sammie.
So let's move on from there to No Surrender. I'm just gonna ask you your takeaways from the show. A couple takeaways. I've already kind of reviewed it on podcast networks. I didn't do
Yeah,
it here on YouTube, but I did review it a little bit. And
yeah.
overall, I just enjoyed the show. And I'm not usually a
Mm,
big Impact Plus show fan. So what you got?
right.
What are your general
So for me,
takeaways?
I had two big takeaways from the show. Like the first one was the triple threat revolver match, right? Like in
Yeah,
a nutshell, I would say if I had to have like one big thought, it'd be that like the future of Impact was on display, and the future is bright. The future is bright. We got to see a lot of young talent shine. That triple threat revolver match is where we got to see a lot of these pieces, and I think that match concept is a good one. They seem to be
yeah,
obsessed with doing multi-man matches for the X-Division. And this is a new way to present that. You know what I mean? It's like half triple threat match, half gauntlet match. It gives you the fast-paced style of a multi-man match, and it gives you that anticipation of a gauntlet match. It was a little confusing at the end once they got down to the last three. I was expecting to be like elimination style, but it was
right.
a triple threat match. So this had to be, one pin or submission to get a winner. But overall, I love the match concept because when it's over, you feel like whoever won, like they really did something. You know what I mean? Like they really earned whatever the prize is, whether it's
Yeah,
the number one contender spot, or I'm sure there'll be times when there's a title on the line in that match. Like to me, I feel like a match like that can be the main event of a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? You can build to seeing who gets into the triple threat revolver match, who's going to come in last, just like they do at the Royal Rumble. And to me, it's just because just the way a match like that is set up, it gives you a consistent storyline. And for the fan, it gives you return on your investment because you invest your time into watching these shows, and the least you can get back, the least you can expect is like a coherent storyline to follow. And so this actually gives you that, you know what I mean? So I'm a big fan of this match concept. I wanted to say I want to see it more and more. The other thing that stood out to me from No Surrender was, I got to borrow a line from BQ on this one. BQ always says Impact is more interested in letting you know that AJ Styles wrestled there than finding the next AJ Styles. Well, I'm here to tell you, go ahead and get ready to clip this off and rotate it around the internet, circulate it all over the internet. Impact found their next AJ Styles, and his name is Chris Bay. Chris Bay he's unique. He's the best talent they have. He's the talent they have with the biggest upside right now. When you listen, at around 2018, I looked at the Impact roster, the Impact roster, and I said, if you're being honest with yourself, Tessa Blanchard has a different level of star power and charisma than anybody else on that show. And I said the same thing when Chris Bay walked out at No Surrender. I mean, if you just look at this guy, like he's in elite level shape. His gear is like a star. Like he just has presence. He has presence. Impact, this is your guy. I'm not saying he's got to go on an undefeated streak. I'm not saying he's got to win every title, but this is your workhorse, man. You need to build around him. Let him make moments. Pay him and promote him now, not when he goes to WWE. Promote him now. Make him your big star right now. So you don't have to spend time telling everybody, hey, that guy used to wrestle here. No, make him a star now because this guy is your next AJ. So don't make the mistake you made with your last AJ, okay? Pay him now, promote him now, build around Chris Bay. And those are my big takeaways from No Surrender.
You were dead on about that triple threat revolver match. They got a real winner with that one. I miss the creative concept matches that they've had. There was a time where TNA was just very, just not afraid to be different. And then I
Right.
say it every week when we record the Cool Factor that there's so much cookie cutter shit that they do. Even like doing the contract signing with Tommy Dre. I mean, yeah, okay. WWE does contract signings. Like
Yeah.
it's super cookie cutter to me to do that kind of crap. Now
And not, but let me just say this, by the way,
season,
sorry
but
to interrupt you. Hold your thought 1 second. I just want to say, not only is it cookie cutter to do that, but what's the point of doing it in the ring when there's no audience there?
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense. It comes across much better if you do that in like a boardroom setting. Why do promos in the ring when there's no audience? Why do, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're just in the habit of doing these things. You know what I mean? And so this is an opportunity to be different from the other shows. But it's just like you're just in the habit of doing these things. Oh, we got to have everybody talk in the ring. Why? There's nobody there. So,
yeah. You know, granted, they didn't flip a table and start fighting, you know what I mean? But
right.
still, but yeah, they got a real winner with that one. So you kind of talked about the future was on display, and I actually tend to agree with that. I thought, I know you were impressed with Chris Bay with it, but for me, Trey Miguel, Josh Alexander, Jake something, and Diener all for me just took the next step. Like Trey Miguel is like a different guy in the ring. I mean, he's doing so many different moves. Or he did one where, D'Lo had to interrupt the striker. Like, what the hell was that? You know, I mean,
right.
he was doing some really new stuff. And then Josh Alexander, he feels like a bigger deal to me as a solo guy post the North, and he just looks great too. And we all knew those two and Ace Austin were going to be there in the end, and I agree. They didn't really communicate, hey, it's a triple threat now, because when Ace broke up the pin, I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then,
right,
oh, it's a triple threat. I'm, okay, got it. But I thought those guys really took the next step, especially like Diener and Jake. Like, they've been in the company for a couple of years now. Is the Dieners going absolutely nowhere?
Nothing at all. Yeah.
To do that was meaningful. They never had any meaningful victories. They wrestled on pre-shows and Impact Plus and Twitch, but I mean, just they were just there. They were just like a tag.
They were filler.
Right, absolute fillers, and both of them. I felt this new level of star power, and Jake felt so natural in his element, just going back to his indie character, and I just thought that that match. I'm going to transition into my next point because I'm going to use that one for an example. The next thing I took away from it is that they did a pretty good job with advancing. I don't want to say advancing storylines, but they placed the seeds for some storylines to continue without.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just going to fight again next week.
Right.
When Jake wins the match, and they didn't just leave it at that. I mean, there was an attack after, and this has been an ongoing thing. He keeps getting attacked. He's put through the table.
Yeah.
So now it's taking this feud to another level instead of them to where, like, when Rohit and TJP fought it, whatever, at Hard to Kill, it's the 3-way and TJP won. I remember saying, like, they're gonna fight again. I got that vibe and they did. They just,
but like with an eye roll, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're gonna fight again. Oh.
And they fought 2 more times.
Right.
Although it was just match. I mean, it was just by the time they got to that second one, I was just like, can we be done with, So with these ones, it was like, okay, we knew Jake and Cody were going to continue, but they just laid different seeds. And then very similar with Havoc and Nevaeh, they lost the match, and they planted the seeds like, okay, maybe there's going to be a little dissension, which we'll get into that later. But they planted the seeds for something to let us know, hey, these girls aren't going to fight again. Like collective sigh of relief, dude, because they have been fighting each other. Like Nevaeh had the match with Tenille. Like, I feel like that's the only match Tenille. What's that?
Or Nevaeh?
Nevaeh has had.
Yeah.
Without someone other than.
That's true.
The other two.
Yeah.
He had a match with
I think she might have wrestled Kimberly one time.
Right. But other than that, just been these two every week. And it's just like, whew.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get something different. But I just thought they laid some good seeds for, hey, stuff's going to continue next week on Impact. Tune in,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So speaking of Impact, let's get into the show. All right. Let's talk about. We're going to talk about this week's episode of Impact by playing a little game we like to call Cool, Not Cool, or Meh. Right. So here we go. Speaking of Josh Alexander, TJP defeated Josh Alexander in a banger. Cool or not cool?
Okay, so the match itself was cool. The show overall was, it had its good and its bad for me. The match overall was like cool, double cool, triple cool. I mean, this match for an opening X-Division match, they actually absolutely delivered. They killed it. They just did a lot of things we hadn't seen before. I was really invested into it, but I wouldn't be. I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't disappointed that they fought immediately after Josh Alexander won the number one contendership. I thought this was a feud that they could have really built up as two baby faces. You know, didn't have to have like heat, but
Mm.
I feel like they really could have built it up to a level of excitement that once it got to the pay per view, like they could have main evented with it if they wanted to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and in my gut, in my heart of hearts, after Josh Alexander won that number one contendership match, I was like, they're going to do a slow build. There is no
mm.
way they're going to blow their load on this match.
Right.
And they did the next night. And Josh
Yeah,
Alexander lost. And I was like, that's it. It's not. It's
right.
definitely not it. We'll
Yeah,
talk about that more later. But
yeah,
um, I was really disappointed with that. I was just disappointed to get it right away. You know, so the match was cool, but there's just that caveat. I was disappointed.
yeah, yeah. No, listen, I'm similar to you on this. Like the match was a banger. Like that was a main event level match. That was a super duper quality match. One of the best matches I've seen on Impact Television in a long time. I felt like the type of match you see at an NXT takeover. And like even if you're not an NXT fan, I'm just telling you right now, you said you subscribe to WWE Network, right? So like if you just have some time, go pull up any. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a recommendation. Go pull up NXT Takeover Brooklyn, the one with Sasha Banks and Bailey, and
I
watch
watched
that
that.
show,
I
bro.
was I was a
Like,
fan at that time.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So like, but so like
Yeah,
the NXT brand, like you don't even have to watch NXT week to week. You just know that at the takeover shows, you're gonna get like 5 kick ass, breathtaking matches. For me personally, I'm not gonna lie, it's gotten to be a little much because every match can't give you everything.
yeah,
And so I've pulled back on NXT a little bit. But this match between Josh Alexander and TJP was that type of quality. Like, it's a shame that there was no live crowd for this match. Because I feel like even the type of Impact crowds that sit on their hands would have been standing on their feet by the end of this match.
yeah.
This match was phenomenal. Great match. But like you, I was like, I can't believe that they're giving this away so soon. Like, we're having that great win in the Triple Threat Revolver match. I thought they would have waited a while and built up to this as a big match. I'm not mad that I got the match because it was a really good match, but I'm just a little surprised that, that they got away from that so quickly. But because this was such a great match, I can't downgrade this segment. Like, to me, this was definitely cool.
Yeah, and I do want to throw. Were you done with? I want to throw something in there.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
No, I was just gonna say, as cool as that Triple Threat Revolver match was, like we want those matches to really mean something. To win is like, I'm not saying I don't want to put on the level of you win the Royal Rumble, you're going to WrestleMania, where that match really means something. Like this should mean something to win. It shouldn't be, hey, 48 hours later, I'm gonna get my shot and I'm gonna lose.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's just what really disappointed with me. And then already next week they're just doing another number one contenders match, and he's in it again despite losing clean. So
hey, wait for the punchline, brother. No, but you're right though. You're right though. Like I totally agree with you. You make it mean more if you build up the fact that this person won, and they don't have to necessarily go right on and win the X-Division title right after that, right? But sell me a little bit like, oh, you got to go back and watch the Triple Threat Revolver match, blah, 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 like build up to, hey, I won this match and now I'm going for the title. I think you should you definitely could have built that. But like you said, I think there is more to come. Speaking of which, Trey Miguel defeated Willie Mack in Suicide in a triple threat match. Cool or not cool?
This gets a not cool for me because it was just a random I hate random triple threat or 4-way matches.
Right.
If you're gonna put multiple people in a match, make it mean something.
Mm-hmm.
What did this do? It didn't get Trey into the number one contendership match because Willie Mack's in it too. So
Sure.
I get it. It was to give Trey some more momentum.
Mm-hmm.
He continues to look good. He continues to be, lack of a better term, like a must see part of the show. I'm interested
Mm-hmm.
when he wrestles,
Yep.
but the match to me just, I didn't care because why should I care who won that match?
Right.
There was no stakes, and
Yeah.
it's like a video game. Like when you used to or not used to, people still play wrestling video games. Okay, I'm gonna have a triple threat match. Like, okay, cool,
Right.
it's a video game, but like in real
Random
life,
exhibition.
like at this part, they're just throwing people on the show,
Right.
trying to get as many on. So that
Mm-hmm.
just it's like, why do I have to care about the match? But so that for me was just like not cool because I really didn't care.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree with that. I'm getting a little triple threaded out.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like they have this weird obsession with just, like I said, trying to get everybody on the show. And I'm like, man, like, you don't have to get everybody on every show. Like, just make everything mean something. It would mean more to see Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, and Suicide in the same match if the last time we saw all those guys, they were winning a match. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so take time and build up the characters, then put them all together, and that will make it mean so much more. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's why I'm giving this a cool, because Trey Miguel, and you kind of mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
Trey Miguel, man, like he sees the ring in a way that other people just don't. Like he's finding ways to do moves that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you're talking about somebody who's been watching wrestling for years. You know what I'm saying? And so like the fact that this guy is out here coming up with ways to do moves that I've never seen before, like, it's pretty amazing. And it's really just building up him as an attraction. So for that and that alone, this was cool. So up next, we had Ace Austin busting into Scott D'Amore's office, complaining that he hasn't gotten his X-Division title shot since winning the X Cup. D'Amore makes a 6-man match for next week, and the winning team of the 6-man tag match next week will face off in a 3-way match the following week to become the number one contender. Cool or not cool?
This is another not cool for me because just like I said with the last match, I just don't care. I don't care to see another big multi-man. This is one of 2 multi-man. Like it's a 6-man tag that's going to lead into another triple threat. And he's right, dude. Like I've always talked about the Super X Cup meaning nothing, and it continues to mean nothing because why doesn't he get a title shot? Like, so we're just gonna keep doing number one contender matches. Like the tournament's a number one contenders match. Like he beat a bunch of dudes. Like give him his freaking title shot. Yeah. So instead, like Willie Mack, who lost the Revolver match and lost the match this week, is gonna be in the number one contenders match again. So like they always talk about AEW like wins and losses matter. Like this is showing us like that's why like wins and losses have to matter. And I'm not. Even though Scott D'Amore sometimes is funny backstage in the way that he makes matches, like the cutesy, like I'm always getting over on the wrestler and trying to put him in a position to fuck them over. Like it's not, and especially multiple times an episode. Like I'm just not into it.
Not for you.
It's. Dude, I remember watching. I'd watch Raw, whatever, SmackDown, and they always had like the GM. I don't think they do that anymore, right? GMs.
No.
Okay. So they would have a GM, but for the most part, the GM wasn't like interwoven throughout the whole show. Like they usually had their segment in the beginning, and then it was like a 2-hour episode. And like when he just keeps like here he is, he's in his office, and he's in the hallway, and just like just that keep trying to screw over the heels who aren't asking anything unrealistic. Like Ace Austin is not being unrealistic in what he's asking. Like how many times did Raju keep getting title shots, or TJP keep getting title shots. Like after
Yeah.
I talked about Josh Alexander losing clean earlier. Like this dude won the tournament. If that is,
But
if
I
that's
think
gonna
in some
matter.
ways, like that's what makes a good heel. Like if you think about like some of the best heels from like movies, they always genuinely felt they were right. You know, like look at like Killmonger from Black Panther. Like he had legitimate beef. You know what I mean? Like his arguments were good stuff. Like look at like Magneto from the X-Men, right? Like he had legitimate beef. You know what I mean? Stuff that he thought was wrong. And I think that's part of what makes like a good heel. I don't know if you remember Bret Hart in like '97, right? Like he had legitimate beef. He was like, I'm a good guy, and everybody's cheering for Stone Cold, and he's the jerk. You know what I mean? Like that was a legitimate beef. And so I think that's part of like what makes a good heel. You know what I mean? Like is that they have a point, but they're just being a jerk about it. You know? And
Yeah.
so,
No, I totally get it. I just think in this case he is right, but you're right. He's
yeah.
being a jerk about it. But and now once I knew this is just clearly leading to some kind of multi-match at the pay-per-view, like all of a sudden I just lost interest in the X-Division title a little bit.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And I think that is totally fair. I'm actually going to give this a cool. Listen, I already mentioned I'm getting a little triple threat matched out, and they just set up 2 more weeks of multi-man matches. But from a storytelling standpoint, I like it. I like that I know there's a line to follow. You know what I mean? Like there's this 6-man match next week, and out of the 6-man match, I know that there's a triple threat the following week, and I know out of that I'm getting one person. So that's like it's almost like some weird tournament style, you know. And so for that reason, it's consistent storytelling. It's cohesive. You know what I mean? So for that, I'm giving this a cool, bordering on meh. You know what I mean? All right. So
before you get into the next one, my assumption, the reason there's so many people on the shows is because there's a certain amount of talent who gets a salary, and there's some who's paid per appearance, and we don't want it to be like the TNA days where like I'm not going too far back, just 4 years ago, Eddie Kingston, Marche Rocket showing up for the tapings, not doing anything the whole time and not getting paid, So obviously they don't want to get to that point, but I've never counted the matches on Dynamite, but I would say they probably have about 6 matches on the show in a 2-hour period, where Impact likes to do 4 in a 2-hour period because they want to do a bunch of foolery backstage. Like if you want to have more people on the show, let's just do more matches.
Well, I was actually listening to the Big Gold Belt podcast earlier, and some of the guys were talking about how they watch AEW Dark, and they said something like they did like 12 matches on a 1-hour show. I'm like, how do you even do that?
Well, they get up to 16 now. The last one was 12, but they get up to about 16.
That's crazy. Oh, you watch Dark, okay? So so like same thing, right? So they have all these people on. They're paying them. Get out there and wrestle, So
I usually fast forward through who I don't want to see, but because Anna Jay and Ty Conti and Dark Order and some of the people I like wrestle on there more often than Dynamite, like I watch it for them.
Yeah. And again, that's also a good reason to have, a show like that, because you do need you need some developmental spots. I got to catch Explosion this past week, and I got to see Shogun, who won the gut check, and I'm like, okay, I see the promise, but he also needs some work. So it's good to, you need shows like that because people need to work, man. Like, you can see like again, we talk about Britt Baker, right? Like think about what Britt Baker sounded like when she was coming out doing those promos with Tony Schiavone a year ago.
Yeah.
And versus like now, she owns it. She owns it. And that doesn't happen if you don't get TV time. You got to get time. You only get better at it by doing it. Some people are geniuses, right? Some people can watch something. I have a brother who can play instruments by ear. He doesn't need like sheet music or anything like that. He can like hear you play something on the piano. He'll be like, doom,
perfect doom, pitch. It's perfect pitch.
Doom, 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 doom. You know what I mean? Just pick it up just like that. Like some people they have like a skill for that. But most people, you got to get reps. That's how you get better at doing stuff. So that's why you need your explosion shows. You need your, AEW Dark. You need all that stuff. And if you're paying these people, come in here and get better. So that actually does make sense.
Speaking of all right, so did you watch? I'm cutting you off again.
No, that's okay. Good.
On the same topic as well. Did you watch Before the Impact?
Yes, I did.
So give your thought. I didn't watch it. I meant to record it and I forgot.
I actually just watched it a few minutes ago.
Where did you watch it on?
But I like, huh?
What did you watch it on?
It's on the app. It's up on the app.
By
the way, everybody watching this around the world, wherever you are, they have gotten smart and they have decided to put the Impact show up on the app. So if you don't have Access TV or for some reason you don't have access to Twitch to catch it live, that's fine. The show is up on the app almost immediately after. And if it's not up immediately, like by midnight or the next day for sure, the show is up and available. So there's no excuse for anybody to not catch the show. So yeah, Before the Impact is up there. Like this week's Explosion is up there. This week's Impact is up there, so everybody can stay current on the product. And like I said, I just watched Before the Impact before we started taping the show a few minutes ago, and yeah, I like it. I thought it was nice. I thought it was like a nice structured show. They got little things in there. They do like, here's the top 5 things on social this week. Here's a backstage interview. They threw a match in there. They have a segment with a guy called the Iceman, who's supposed to be like a dirt reporter, and he is really just like a kayfabe like storyline. Like this Impact tag team was seen arguing at the airport, and I'm like, he's definitely talking about Havoc and Invader. Oh. But he presents it like it's like a dirt sheet report. And then the 3 people, John and Gia and Josh. They were all, they all, they're fine. You know what I mean? They're just, they're all doing their segment, saying little things. I think it's good content. It's good content. It's one of those things where, again, if you are finding yourself like, man, Impact doesn't come on until 8, let me go ahead and throw on Access TV at 7. Like it's a quality way to spend your hour getting ready for Impact.
All right, I'll make sure to watch it. So I'm not going to cut you off again.
No, it's okay. Yeah, right. But so Matt Cardona, he beat Hernandez in the match. Then after the match, he's cutting a promo and he says that he's here in Impact, not to pass the torch, but to light his own torch. Then Brian Myers gets in the ring and he gets in his face, basically says like, why'd you come here? This is my thing. Why are you following me? They break out into a brawl. Then Hernandez jumps back in the ring, starts jumping Matt Cardona. Then Eddie Edwards comes out and jumps Hernandez. Cool or not cool?
I'm just going to say, even though there was some cookie cutter to this, I thought it was cool just because I know you probably don't agree. I actually kind of enjoy Matt Cardona and Impact so far, just because I think it's just something fresh. I've always wanted to see what he could do without being saddled by the gimmick that he used to have. I remember one time an episode where Sheamus was going to choose he was a champion, was going to choose his opponent for the main event of the night. And they had all the main eventers, like trying out and having matches all night. And at the end, he steps out and he's just like, my opponent's going to be Zack Ryder, like someone who wasn't even part of the group. And then Ryder came out, the bell rang, he bro kicked him 1, 2, 3. That was the match. Like he was just such a jobber, you know what I mean? And I've always wondered what he could do outside of that. So I guess I'm just enjoying seeing that with him. And anything that involves Myers, I seem to enjoy. And this was a good match for Hernandez. Like there's a couple times where when they brought him back, they put him in the ring, and I had no interest in what he was doing. Fighting Rhino and all this shit. So it was cool. It wasn't a oh my god, like it's a borderline but I'll give it a cool. What do you think?
All right. Well, look, I've said this before, and I will say it again. Matt Cardona should only be here to put Impact talent over, and I'm hoping that this is where this is going between him and Brian Myers, who actually is washing off the stink of his WWE run. But Cardona will never not be Zack Ryder to the masses, me included. And if Zack Ryder is winning matches in your promotion is whack. This was man with a chance to be not cool. So that's where I'm at with this.
Okay.
All right. So Nevaeh and Havoc have a backstage segment where they're teasing a breakup. Nevaeh is talking about how frustrated she is that they lost to Fire and Flavor. Then Tennille Dashwood apparently overhears them. She's actually really funny. She's like, I wasn't eavesdropping, but I just heard everything you said. And, she basically comes in and tells Havoc, hey, I should be your partner and not Nevaeh. This leads to Nevaeh challenging Tennille Dashwood to a match. And we're going to get this, later. So, cool or not cool?
I do think Tennille is very funny. This was another not cool for me. Tennille saved the segment. So maybe I'll get a meh. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it middle of the pack. The conversation beforehand was so bad as far as the acting goes. Like, for the most part, I think Impact has pretty decent actors on a roster. Havoc usually doesn't talk on the show, and she's
right.
Maybe we're seeing why. And then Nevaeh doesn't have the most TV experience in the world, so I don't want to completely knock him for it, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Like, it was the opening part of this was so painful for me to watch, and I don't like the reason I kind of gave it the not cool was because I'm not really in. That's the only established tag team they have, and they're trying to tease a breakup. Now, I appreciate the storyline because I'm going back to we don't want to be cookie cutter. I'm saying that, dropping that word a lot, and I'm probably going to in most of our podcasts. We don't want to be cookie cutter and like, okay, now they're just going to continue to wrestle as a team after they lost a couple title matches. Like, there should be some dialogue between them. What the hell's next for us? Like, they're it's a storyline, and I don't know what direction it's going to go, but I'm fairly intrigued by it. But just the I don't know, the running in the hallway. I've been trying to call you all week, and acting was really bad. And then Tennille came and really saved it, and then but then it ended up being another bump into each other in the hallway and have a match.
Kind of, yeah.
Which we spoke about quite a bit. So I'm gonna give it middle of the pack as Tennille saved it, but it's borderline not cool for me.
Yeah. So I'm okay with teasing a breakup here. To me, they don't work as baby faces. And, Fire and Flavor's heels, they're much more entertaining. To me, Havoc and Nevaeh work as like a monster tag team. That they should be like killing people and doing evil things and somebody screaming, who can stop them? You know what I mean? Like, that's what they should be doing in their perfect role. But as like baby faces, to me, they don't work. So I'm okay with teasing a breakup here. I'm okay with the idea of breaking them up. I think you can add some fresh matches to the Knockouts division by having them work as singles. So this is fine for me. This was bordering on cool.
Okay.
All right. So guess what? Reno Scum is back. I know those are your boys. Finn Juice, the team of David Finlay and Juice Robinson, they defeated Reno Scum. And after the match, the Good Brothers came out and started cutting a promo on Finn Juice, basically calling them young boys and talking about their time when they were in New Japan together. And Juice grabs the mic and lets them know, hey, man, it's not 2015 anymore. And we're not the young boys. We're not basically saying, we're not going to be here carrying your bags. Was this cool or not cool?
So I'm not going to give it a meh. I'm gonna give it, actually, maybe it says unprecedented. I'm going to give it a cool and a not cool. So the cool part was the match itself, as far as their performance goes. Not the match, but their actual performance. They're very good. This was a really big deal, for them to debut. We're seeing New Japan talent. We're not seeing Japanese talent, but we're seeing New Japan talent. And I thought they were a breath of fresh air, wrestling wise. Just seeing something a little bit different. And Juice Robinson, who was he in NXT?
CJ Parker.
CJ Parker. He left, right? He didn't get fired. He left on his own.
I don't know.
I want to say he left on his own. So if that's the case, before there was Sammy Callahan leaving, before there was Cody Rhodes leaving, like there was Juice Robinson, there was CJ Parker. His gimmick
Okay.
was like a save the earth type of dude. He used to bring a
Oh,
sign out.
was he? You know what? I think wasn't he in Impact? Didn't he have like dreads in his hair? Am I thinking of somebody? I could be thinking of somebody else. But I think he was in Impact at one time, and he had like blonde braids.
Maybe. I'm sure someone can fact check us on that.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know.
whatever.
But even though I kind of liked his gimmick, I think he was the first NXT wrestler I ever saw when I first started watching that program, and I was like, oh, I kind of dig this. He was a jobber, and he bet on himself and has done big things. Like no one ties him into CJ Parker anymore. You talked about Matt Cardona being forever linked to Zack Ryder. Like that's not the way he is,
Right.
So it was cool. And I thought the commentary team did a good job of giving us some background. And I've been enjoying, side note, really enjoying the commentary. The only knock I have is that I wish it was a little looser. So that's one thing Josh was good about, to where he was pretty loose, to where even though I appreciate them being laser focused on the action, because that's what I asked for, like it's a little tight, like mainly from D'Lo, which he probably doesn't have the most experience in the world, but he almost sounds scripted at times. Just like it doesn't sound like genuine excitement. Like it sounds very like Women of Wrestling scripted,
Yeah.
Glow Girls scripted
Yeah.
commentary.
I think that they're probably scared, man. You guys were so hard on Josh Matthews.
Yeah, I know.
Like, they're afraid to mess up. They don't want to catch that heat like Josh Matthews is catching.
I am. But no, they do good. I've enjoyed them, but I enjoy that they give a little bit of the background and all that kind of crap. The not cool part about it was because I like Reno Scum, and this is the second time. This is the first time they've been here in a while, and this was the second time that they just use them as fodder for a team. Like they were there for the Good Brothers debut.
I knew you would feel some type of way about that.
Yeah. So when they had that match, my first thought was, this is cool for Reno Scum to show what they can do, because I don't think they always get that opportunity, because they do lose a lot.
Yeah.
But they don't it's one thing to lose, but you want to appear that you're competing also, and I don't get that vibe from a lot of their matches, the way that they're laid out.
Yeah.
So when they wrestled the Good Brothers, it was the main event of the show. It wasn't a long match. Good Brothers controlled the majority of the match, hit the Magic Killer with ease, and won the match. And I was like, dude, in a sense, I don't want to use the word job, because we lose the definition of the word, what job means. But they fed him to the Good Brothers. And then when this match happened, I said, I would like to see, because this is a high profile match. So was this one. So I'm thinking, okay, are they going to let Reno Scum compete this time? No, they just fed him to these dudes. They didn't really get to show what they could do, in my opinion. So I don't think that the tag team division is large enough to have teams that you're just giving for fodder. Like everyone has to compete.
It makes sense to let everybody get a little shine sometimes.
Right. But if you think of them, the Deaners never had that shine. Triple XL never even had really a big victory. I mean, that's 3 teams right there, and they don't have many teams to work with. So Desi Hit Squad forever never got over the hump even a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a cool and not cool. I don't want to give it middle of the pack, because these guys were very impressive, and they don't it deserves for me to give it a cool. And then the segment afterwards, when the Good Brothers came out, I was like, oh, here we go, blowing their load, and these guys are going to fight next week. That was the first thing I thought. But they approached it very differently, actually. So it looks like it'll be maybe clearly they're going to fight, but down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with this too. Listen, they treated these guys like a big deal. Even though I had never heard of them, I had no idea who they are. But it was a fun match to watch. I enjoyed the match, and the storyline with the Good Brothers seems like it's automatically built in. It seems to have like a natural flow to it, where if you're familiar with New Japan, then this should all make sense to you. So it seems like kind of a plug and play storyline, and I like that. again, like, we have an idea where this is going, but we feel like it's going to be a slow play. There'll be a story that plays out, and I'm here for it, man. I like this. I'm going to say this was cool. This was a good debut. All right. So then we got backstage. We got Rohit telling. Oh, sorry, it wasn't backstage. This was actually at like a bar. Okay, but Rohit is telling Shera that it's his fault that Rohit is not the X-Division champ. He gets into Rohit ends up getting into an argument with James Storm, who's there. They're talking trash back and forth. James Storms end up busting a bottle over Rohit's head. Don't talk to people at a bar. Always, see what they got in their hands. Pro tip. And Rohit gets laid out, and Shera, being the good friend that he is, does absolutely nothing. Then James Storm and Chris Sabin end up leaving with Johnny Swinger. This was random as hell. Cool or not cool?
The only reason this gets a cool for me is because it's something fresh for Rohit and fresh for Storm and Sabin. So we're not going to see them go after Private Party and go after the Good Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
It's something fresh for him. We've been watching Rohit wrestle TJP since the first Bush administration, so now we just get something a little bit different. I didn't like. Don't break Shera away from Rohit. He cannot survive on his own. He being the muscle for Rohit works, and as you said, that usually means take it to the next level. Maybe get to the main event when you have that.
Right.
Have the muscle. Rohit cannot survive on his own. He doesn't talk on the show anymore.
You mean Shera?
Shera, yeah. I do sometimes miss but I always thought that was hilarious. I don't know why. Just the music and the shit was just funny to me. But he just fits his role well. Don't break them up. So at first when he was like, talking down on him, I was like, oh God, don't do this. And then he almost seemed like he stood up for him at the end. So it's almost maybe they're gonna have a hate and love relationship, which I can live with that.
Yeah,
that's outside the box a little. But he needs a mouthpiece. Shera needs the mouthpiece. So I'll just say cool, just because it's something fresh for them, and I'd be okay with a tag match between the two. I would love it at a pay-per-view. I think that would be a cool match. We'll probably get it in 2 weeks on Impact.
Yeah. So this was random as hell for me. Again, I'm not sure where any of this is going, and to me, it was meh. All right. Tennille Dashwood defeated Nevaeh. This is probably leading to Nevaeh ended up turning on Havoc. Was this cool or not cool?
It was cool because this was a fresh knockouts match. And every time when I think, dude, they have nothing, the knockouts roster is not that big. Every time I think, like, I think we've seen all the matches. We really haven't. Like, they kind of, there's actually quite a few matches we can have within a knockouts. It's just that we see the same people fight each other. Like, we saw Tessa and Taya Valkyrie fight for a year straight, and not fight anybody else.
Right.
So they tend to do very like WWE style feuds with the knockouts, to where one team wins and then they just fight again the next week, and then if it's a tag team, they split up and fight each other. So this was just excuse me, this was just fresh between two girls that I like.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Nevaeh had a chance of winning. I knew Tennille was going to get the win. Tennille probably needed the win. So I can dig it. It was cool for me. What do you think?
I mean, there's reasons to like this. Like I mentioned earlier, it feels a little predictable, but it was cool, bordering on meh. Like I said, I like the fact that you're getting teasing the breakup of Nevaeh and Havoc. Says you're going to inject new match opportunities into the knockouts division, but there's just not a lot of excitement here. So hopefully we'll see this picks up and gets exciting. This leads to like some crazy matches between Havoc and Nevaeh. I would definitely be here for that. All right. We got a Violent by Design promo. Diener and Jake something next week are going to have a tables match. Cool or not cool?
Cool. While I'm probably not the biggest Violent by Design fan as a whole, I like the Diener part of it.
Okay.
I want Eric Young to grow his beard back. Like, I can't get into his look where he's all shaven like that. It's like one of those cats that they shit, it's like completely shaven. You're like, well, it's a cat. Like, not, I don't. Not to me, it's not. And then I've said, before, to me, Joe Doring just stands out like a sore thumb in that group. But just with the cowboy hat and all that, just I don't get it.
I hate that stupid face he makes. It's so stupid. So stupid.
But I'm real into like what Diener is doing. I wish he was Cody Diener. I hate oh my god, I hate single names, single last names. I hate like people who name their kids after last names. Like, oh, my kid's name is Jackson. Like my son's name is Jax, Jax, and people call him Jackson. I'm like, that is not his freaking name. But I get so mad because I it's one of my pet peeves is naming the new generation using last names as first names and stuff. So I'm not into the whole Sinbad thing, but but the promo was cool. It gave Diener got to talk this time. It wasn't an Eric Young thing. It was like Cody got his moment. Yeah. I got a hot take for you, dude. This is on fire. Clearly Jake needs reinforcements. Clearly something is going to happen. I guess Tommy Dreamer's taking some time off TV. So
is he?
Yeah, there was an article he's going to be off TV, but he was in the main event this week. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was, he just had Rhino and Tommy Dreamer, or Rhino and Heath if he comes back. That wouldn't surprise me in the least bit.
Well, I saw Heath put up a video today that he's about to have surgery on March 1st, and he's tore basically everything below his navel.
In that gauntlet match?
I guess. Yeah, he tore a lot of stuff. Wow. He was like listing the injuries. I was like, oh god.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So this is my hot take, dude. Because usually this kind of stuff gets spoiled, but right now we don't have spoilers because no one's in the audience.
Right.
Dude, I think Bully Ray's going to show up. Because it's a tables match. They're like really harping on I'm going to put you through a table.
Interesting.
So it's a hot take, dude, but I think he has had interest in coming over for a while. He's teased it quite a bit over the years. Even though he's like real critical, he's still watching, and he's always, I want to fight Tessa Blanchard. Like, he's throwing seeds of returning, and he almost did return at one point, but they brought El Patron instead because Bully Ray.
I would have liked to see Bully Ray versus Tessa Blanchard. That would have been really good.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
So I'm. The pay-per-view's coming in April. They're most likely going to bring some kind of other old timer back.
True.
They do it before every pay-per-view. Like, hey, let's bring someone that's 50 plus. So I just gotta.
You know what the show needs?
I don't know if he's 50.
Somebody over 50.
Yeah. I don't think he's that old, but I'd have more interest if it was him than what they normally.
Right.
So that's just hot take. It's probably going to be Rhino and Dream or something like that, but probably having fun with it. What do you think?
I liked it, man. I like this promo. I like the way it was shot. I like how they use the camera cuts to kind of liven up, an otherwise blah promo. Diener's not the best promo, but he's not the best orator. You know what I mean? but the promo was solid. It got his point across. Here's what I really like. I like building up the heel army for Jake to run through. You mentioned earlier, seeing Jake at No Surrender. That's really his first appearance as a solo character, and I feel like he has like superstar potential, and like just the way he comes out and he does this thing, and he's like, "What's my name?" I'm like, yo, this is gonna work great with a live audience, man. Like, these guys are doing the type of stuff that gets an audience active and riled up, using all these New Japan guys. It's gonna attract more young, lively, wrestling nerds, and they're setting the stage to have a better live atmosphere when crowds come back. And I think Jake something has a chance to be a really big deal. And the idea of, just building up a heel faction for him to go to war with for a while, I'm fine. And you can do this for months. You can do this for a year, back and forth, whatever, you know what I mean? Just different, combinations of that. You could have Jake with a tag team against these guys. You could have Jake versus EY, Jake versus Joe Doring, Jake versus Diener, you know what I mean? Jake versus Diener and EY, you know what I mean? Like, and all the while you're just making Jake look stronger and stronger and stronger. So I'm a fan, man. Like, keep this going, because just the idea of building these stars, we could talk about this more later, but Impact has a core of young stars right now that has a chance to be special. And, we can talk more about that later.
And Jake, real quick. So Jake, I talked about this before. I've seen him wrestle locally here a lot. The What's My Name is the live crowd locally responds with something. So
right.
I hope that they find a way to to communicate that. I never know how chants originate like that.
Right.
But I've seen him wrestle in Glory Pro and AAW. Mm-hmm. Glory Pro is here locally, and AAW is in Chicago, about 4 hours north of me. Those are two like very hot promotions. If you go to one of those shows, there's more people than an Impact show a lot of the time.
Right.
Those are hot promotions, and Rohit also wrestles at those. And even Rohit, him and I were talking one day personally at one of the shows. He's like, "Dude, this is special. These crowds here, and both of those guys, the crowd loves them, So I know that there's potential in them. So hopefully they can take it to the next level with Jake. So
yeah, that's dope, man. I think like if they know that there's good indie crowds, good indie promos, for these if they know there's good followings for the independent promotions in these areas, they need to do shows in those areas. You know what I mean? Because if they're pulling crowds that would be similar to the people who go to those shows, and you're featuring performers that people there already like, it makes all the sense in the world to do shows there. So, I just, I hope that it's, cost effective for Impact to do that. But, Impact could use so much to, it would be such a benefit to them to put a show on with a lively audience. You know what I mean? Like when they do those shows in St. Clair College in Windsor, that crowd loves the product. They love it. And it makes Impact look so much fun. And they need to be in front of as many crowds like that as possible. So if there's an audience like that where you are, then, call somebody. Okay? Call somebody and tell them. All right. So Deonna Purrazzo, Kimberly, and Susan, they see Scott D'Amore backstage, and they tell him they want a Knockouts tag team title shot. Scott D'Amore makes a match for next week between Susan and Kimber, and Jordan and Jazz for number one contenders for the Knockouts tag titles. Cool or not cool?
The reason I'm going to say it's not cool, even though I like, I've said I like Kimberly quite a bit, and Deonna to that, and I like the Susan stuff a lot, actually. I'm blown away by her versatility, because to me, that is not the same person playing Sue and Susie. I mean, she's versatile. And totally it's probably important that she masters this serious gimmick, because I don't think I've said this before, the Sue Young gimmick has a real shelf life, and you have to compliment Impact that they have found a way to keep her relevant, because if this was WWE, she would have burnt out very quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With that gimmick. As much as they put people on television.
No, see, I think that's different than WWE. WWE will let you do the same thing forever, endlessly, until, you know what I mean? Like,
that's why it's
not getting you any better. And then, it's just like, oh, this character's dead, you're fired.
Yeah, exactly. So I've enjoyed it. The reason it just wasn't cool to me is because this was another like cutesy Scott D'Amore backstage thing where, oh yeah, oh you want to, oh I got an idea, oh and like trying to get himself over type of shit.
Yeah,
I can handle it once a show. I can't handle it multiple times a show. Like it's I don't know. Did you notice, by the way, in the opening show when Tommy Dreamer Gia stepped out to interview him, he left Scott's office, but it was the light was off.
No, I didn't notice
He
that.
exited out, the light was pitch black behind him, and there was another segment later. Someone stepped out of a pitch black room, and I was like,
It's weird.
details, folks, details. But no, it just a not cool for me because it was just the same type of it was the same thing as the Ace Austin scenario from earlier where he's asking for a title shot and they
Yeah.
same exact thing with different people. So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of didn't like it. And if he would have said, okay, Susan and Kimber are going to fight for the title, I actually would have been interested in that. But instead, they're like, oh, let's do a number one contenders match. So now we're just going to go right back to Jazz. And I can't believe they kept Jazz around this long. I thought she'd just be around for that tournament. But,
Me too. Me too. But money talks.
Yeah, I thought that about Ken Shamrock, that he was going to be there for one match. And this dude a year and a half later.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah. So I would have been interested in that match, but the match they actually put together is I posted on Facebook the card for next week, and it said, "Hey, let me copy your homework." Okay, but change a few things so it looks different. And I put next week's card underneath, dude. I mean, it is like no surrender, just on Impact.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it just gets a not cool, for those reasons. But I don't dislike Deonna, Kimber, or Susan by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I totally get that. So I like moving on from Havoc and Nevaeh versus Fire and Flavor. They had to find some way to move on, and this seems like a reasonable progression, right, for them to find the next thing to do. Also I do like booking out a few weeks of storyline in a row. Again, you set up the number one contenders match, to find out who gets to go on after that. So to me, I'm actually gonna give this a cool, but I'm mostly gonna give this a cool because I think Susan is just a funny ass character, and like the the stuff you were saying is all true. Like the amount of versatility she's showing between the three different characters that she portrays on Impact. It's really cool. It's really dope, and I'm watching her, as like Su Young or as Susie, and I'm like, where's the wrestling? But it's great to see that she's so good at the character stuff that she adds, just great value to this show. So, for her and really her alone, I'm going to give this segment a cool.
I don't think I finished my thought. I was saying I think I moved on without finishing my thought. She should probably figure out this serious character, because probably for her to have longevity in the company going forward, she's probably going to have to. She can always be Su Young on the Indies. Mm-hmm. She's probably going to have to figure out a regular character at some point that she can wrestle. Because right now she's Susan, but she also doesn't wrestle. She's in wrestling gear. So, one thing I think we passed this up. What did you think about the segment? You don't even have to cool or not cool it, but so the bar scenes they're clearly in Nashville. They do a bunch of scenes with that background. What'd you think of that one where it was like Swingers Palace and
that was actually a continuation of the James Storm Chris Sabin at the bar thing.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know where this is going, and I also don't really care. I don't know. It doesn't compel me at all. Maybe that'll change, but right now, Superman. They're
reintroducing the money thing again. When we finally got rid of it, it's
because that was great.
Yeah, great long. Someone on Twitter was like, they're telling a story. I was like, don't give me that fucking crap. Who were I wanted to ask you when they were asking Alicia, aren't you that rapper? And as a hip hop fan, man, when someone makes fun of hip hop, like rapping like that, it actually irritates me to my core.
Really?
Just like someone who likes country probably is irritated when someone's like, my dog left me and my you know what I'm saying? Like someone who likes country, that pisses them off. Like that's how I feel when you start, homie G, that shit, like, dude, that pisses me the fuck off. But who are they trying to say? They're asking Alicia, aren't you that rapper? But they didn't
no idea. I have no clue.
Like
Is there
Iggy
a rap?
Azalea, maybe.
Oh, it could be. Iggy Azalea. Who else could? I can't think of who else it could be. Oh, that could it be the Catch Me Outside girl?
Well, yeah, but she's a brunette.
Oh, gosh, who else could it be?
It was funny because I didn't realize they were talking to Alicia. It was just a blonde, and then like the expression on her face when it finally showed her was just funny to me. But
I have no idea who they can be talking about.
I don't like the
No
editing
clue.
that they do where it's like coming from someone's front of their face or like right here.
Uh,
It's like very close. I don't like that editing style that they do
mm.
with these gimmicks. But okay, so we'll move on from that. I just want to see what you thought.
All right. So the main event of the show was Moose defeating Tommy Dreamer in some sort of no disqualification hardcore style match. Cool or not cool?
It's Tommy Dreamer in the main event again. I'm pretty sure I'm going on 3 years of saying, okay, this is the last time Tommy Dreamer needs to be in the main event.
Oh boy,
He's been in 2-3 main events already this year, and after the pay-per-view, I was like, dude, he's not going to be in a main event again. And then the next
surprise!
episode, hey, so and then he took it old school, which I never have interest in, man. I don't, and that's going to lead to my discussion question with you at the end of this. But it just, as much as I love Moose and I say, oh, dude, everything he does is gold, and I still fully believe that. And when he came out at No Surrender, I'm always blown away how cut he is compared to when he showed up and when he debuted. Like if someone goes back and watches when he showed up at Destination X, like dude, he's a complete different guy.
Yeah.
He stood next to Lashley, and like Lashley was just so big next to him, and
Mm-hmm.
Moose was just like, I mean, he didn't remotely have the physique he does now. Dude is in phenomenal shape. But I'm just like, dude, Tommy Dreamer in the main event, going old school, like it's just not cool for me.
Yeah.
Of the year, I I didn't mean to shock the world with that take, but
I know. Blown away.
yeah,
I mean, look, man. Moose is on fire right now. He demolished Tommy Dreamer in a hardcore match. I don't know what else you could have expected to happen, right?
yeah.
But that's exactly what should have happened. And I'm fine, whatever. It was cool. You know what I mean? As long as they didn't, do no wildness, Tommy Dreamer getting too much offense. In that no surrender match against Rich Swann, they played up that it was Tommy Dreamer's 50th birthday. He looked 50.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And he looked it again in this match.
It made you see how much he relies on the old school gimmick. Like now
right.
why he wrestles like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I appreciate everything Tommy Dreamer brings to the table. I really do. Like he can wrestle a good style match, laid out match, and get the crowd into it. Work a nice formulaic match. But the last two matches that he's wrestled against guys, Rich Swann and Moose, who are just such a bad matchup for him in terms of athleticism. Yeah. And both of their games depend on their athleticism. I'm talking about Rich Swann and Moose. So those are really bad matchups for Tommy Dreamer, and it really, it's really looked that way. So,
yeah.
This was fine. Like I said, I'm glad that Moose looked dominant. So I'm gonna give that a cool.
All right.
All right.
So let's talk about this real quick. I do got a question for you, and then we're gonna wrap things up. But Taya Valkyrie and Eli Drake, both now part of the NXT product. We haven't seen anything or heard anything from Taya Valkyrie. You can give your thoughts on her if you'd like. I don't have anything to say other than she did everything she could do in Impact. There was really probably no reason for her to return. I'm gonna miss her theme song, and I'll miss having her around in general. She brought some star power. But you might as well take it to the next level. I expected her to go to AEW. Everyone's like, oh, she's going to join WWE because her husband's there. I'm like, well, she's not going to go to the main roster, so she's probably going to see him less on the NXT schedule than the Impact or AEW schedule. But that's the road she chose to go. So you can give your thoughts about it. But Eli Drake showed up. You probably watched the pay-per-view itself. I saw this segment on Twitter. I thought was really good, very funny. It's now he's getting the larger audience is getting to see what he's capable of. When I went to the Impact Lucha Underground show, which I said I wish I didn't do, because it was people were there to watch Lucha Underground. They weren't there for Impact. So the people behind me, like Eli Drake was having his match, and this guy behind me is like, "Oh my god, this dude was their champion at one point." You know, because he was cutting a promo, and when you're programmed a certain way to hate Impact, um, it doesn't matter what. Even though we know Eli Drake's always been like gold, if you're programmed to hate Impact, you're like, dude, who's this guy? You know, like now all of a sudden, you know, people are excited about him. Even the WWE Twitter's like, guess who showed up? So they almost like acknowledged, hey, we know that you probably know who this is, which they don't. You know, I don't typically see a lot of that. So his little promo was really good. Was funny. His name is LA Knight, which sounds
Yeah.
horrible. I thought, you know, I said something on Facebook. I was like, dude, I'm really surprised. Like Shotzi Blackheart, which I've seen her in person, and she's fine as shit.
Is she?
Oh, dude, yeah. Like one of those people, like we see him in like person, you're like, whoa. Like some
Really?
people don't translate on TV as well, or some people translate well
Okay.
on TV. Like when I saw Karen Jarrett in person, I was like, dude, she's freaking beautiful. But like on
Is
TV,
she?
like it doesn't really strike you like that. So some people are like backwards, you know.
Okay.
So anyway, uh, I was kind of like, well, why does she keep her name, but Eli Drake didn't? And you know, someone's like, well, some people don't want to sign their rights over to WWE. Like Shotzi
Right.
Blackheart was willing to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
Eli Drake probably knows he could get fired. He wants to keep the rights to his name.
Yeah.
Makes all the sense in the world, but he did the LA Knight. Like it was not the same.
Right.
And an Impact in true Impact fashion, within minutes, posted an Eli Drake match on YouTube. They posted an Eli Drake match today. And, you know, I've gone on these rants before about their YouTube strategy. I'll never get on board with it. If you gave Eli Drake, they're promoting him now more than when he was the world champion.
Right.
And if you would have given him that kind of energy when he was a champion, you would have all sorts of content for him. And now you're uploading content.
Totally
So, oh
agree.
shit, you know, we're gonna get empty clicks and empty views from people,
Right.
empty subscribers, so they can see an Eli Drake match. Like maybe subscribe to the network because of it. Oh, he's not in the
Right.
company anymore. So how does that benefit the company going forward? So, and I've said before, I understand it is a social media strategy. You want to talk about what's trending, or it's a YouTube strategy, I should say. You do want to create content around what's trending and things like that. Dude, I get that, but there's a way of tweeting out like, congrats to Eli Drake, you know, to Sean Rick or whatever his Twitter handle is, for making your debut tonight. We wish you the best of luck. And then you can post a link under there if you want. But when it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, the minute he debuts, they're just like, check out this Eli Drake match versus EC3 versus so and so.
Right.
Like it's so like we're just trying to capitalize off it. And again, like people say, oh, well, they got 3 million, 4 million subscribers, whatever. Yeah, but they have so many empty subscribers because of that content. People are subscribing because
Right.
a click, I'm gonna watch it one time, but there's nothing meaningful, long lasting for them to like.
I was gonna say, explain to people what empty subscribers is.
Empty subscribers is like someone who subscribes to your channel but then doesn't watch. So a subscriber is a good benchmark of like, so here we're close to 7,000. It's a good benchmark of like, this many people found value in what we've put forward.
Right.
So not every subscriber is going to continue watching. That's just
Mm-hmm.
the way it is. So an empty subscriber is someone who they subscribe, they watch a video, maybe give you a thumbs up, but you don't hear from them again.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and that is that as a content creator, that is a very that's a challenge to. Cool, I got the subscriber. How can I create content to bring them back? So I
Right.
understand the challenge of it, but they are just uploading stuff for those empty subscribers and empty clicks. And
Yeah.
you know, someone might watch, okay, cool, but they're not going to come back, and that hurts your engagement. That's where at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, it's very hard because, so like when this channel had 1,000 subscribers, say 200 of those people watched one of my uploads. Okay, that's 20% of the subscriber base. So because that 20% watched the video, it's YouTube's gonna say that's a pretty decent, what they call it, a sub to viewer count.
Okay.
Subscriber to viewer. That's pretty decent. 20%. We're gonna organically spread this for you now. People are gonna see it in their suggested videos and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
because your subscribers have to like content, or YouTube's not going to put it out, because
Right.
the algorithm says, okay, if the subscribers don't like it, we're not gonna push it, because how are the non-subscribers going to like it?
Right.
So now with a bigger channel with 7,000, say I get that same 200 people that watch a video, YouTube's algorithms now be like, okay, that's a lot of subscribers that don't care about this video.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the videos that do well for the channel, that do the best, are the ones that the most subscribers have interest in.
Right. That makes sense.
Um, so when you're just building empty clicks, it's and those people aren't coming back. Okay, cool, you're at 4 million, but now you're really hurting your ability for a lot of these videos to spread, because the engagement number is so small compared to what the subscriber count is.
Right.
So,
Okay.
okay.
So look, so my thoughts on Taya going to NXT, I think it's great. I think it's great. I think she totally deserves to get paid. Which is the number one thing that working for WWE brings you. It also brings you the largest platform that there is in the wrestling business. And so, regardless of whether or not your time in WWE works out from a creative standpoint, you will have a bigger profile than the day you came in. So those are like the benefits, obviously to, going to WWE. I think that, when I heard that she had to start in NXT, to me, that felt like a little bit of an insult, just the concept, because, we're talking about somebody who has wrestled, I think 7-8 years all around the world in so many promotions. She's been on TV on Impact alone for 5 years. So she doesn't need to go learn how to wrestle on television. She's been wrestling on television in front of people. So the idea that she needs to go learn some WWE style, to me, is BS. And I think it's insulting for somebody who's a veteran and a high quality veteran, of the wrestling business. Again, go back if you guys have Impact Plus app and watch Taya come out at, what was that? Hard to Kill last year. I think that was the last show they did in front of people. And just like the match was Taya, ODB, and Jordan Grace. And when Taya comes out, man, she presents like a big deal, bro. And that's so hard to do in Impact. It is so hard because Impact doesn't present people as a big deal. So right. It's so hard to make yourself feel and seem like a big deal. But the way she has her costumes, the way she was coordinating her character with Johnny Bravo, she felt like a big deal. Like, she is an excellent professional wrestler in every sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like, she has a great look. You know what I mean? Like, she looks like a legit athlete. She looks like a legit butt kicker. You know what I mean? Her move set, like the stuff she does in the ring, it looks real. She's a pretty woman. You know what I mean? Like, she's in WWE. She's tall and blonde and got big breasts. So I'm sure Vince will find something to do with her. So yeah, man. I mean, I think sky's the limit for her in WWE. It's trust. It's tough, when you talk about WWE, because if Vince likes you, you're going to be a superstar. If not, then you'll be, chasing around the 24/7 championship. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It is what it is. Like I said, you're going to make this is where you're going to make the most money you're ever going to make in your career. So enjoy it, make the most out of it. But I'm also glad that she's going to be in NXT, because from a creative standpoint, that's where she will get the best usage. NXT keeps a good, strong women's division, so she'll get to have good matches, the type of matches that I was hoping she would get to have with Kylie Ray, but never did.
Yeah.
The type of matches I was hoping she would get to have with Deonna Purrazzo, but never did. She will have these matches in NXT, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing Taya in NXT. I think it's actually going to be a great, fun run to watch.
I was very impressed. Like I said, I watched the Royal Rumble. It's the first time I watched WWE in about 4 years. I was pretty impressed with Rhea Ripley. She has a very similar build to Taya. Um,
I think Rhea might be bigger. I think Rhea's bigger than Taya.
yeah, she's
I'll
bigger.
be interested. It's always interesting to see like once they get like on that scale.
Right.
You know, WWE recruits people who look like elite level athletes, except for Adam Cole. And then they, you know, so it's interesting to see all these guys once they get together. You know, it was so interesting to see like AJ Styles once he got to stand in the ring across from Roman Reigns and Randy Orton. You know,
Right.
just to see that, like, you know, that eye test. How do you look standing next to this guy? So I'll be very interested to see what Taya looks like standing next to Rhea Ripley or, you know, some of the other talent that they have there.
So I got one question for you. Then we're gonna wrap this up.
What you
This
got?
I kind of thought of this watching the Tommy Dreamer stuff, and Impact did I think Hardcore Month, and I think this month is like Hardcore Month on February, on Impact Plus, the month of February or something. Do you think there's still is it? Do you think Impact's kind of beating a dead horse with the hardcore stuff? Do you think there is still an audience for hardcore wrestling and old school rules and tables matches, or do you think that this is just like the time has passed for these type of matches, and there's no drawing power in that anymore? No one's like when they're like, "Hey, these two guys are fighting in a street fight next week." I'm just like, I don't.
So I think tables matches have been done to death. Um, I think the idea of somebody going through a table, you know, it's just not as effective as it used to be. Especially since most of the tables look like, you know, they're pre-cut and they slice right down the middle, you know, as soon, sometimes before the move's even done, you know, so that has taken a lot of the sting out of tables matches. But I think if you have you know, some sort of issue between two people that seems very personal and very violent, you know, so then throw in a match where it's like, okay, we're gonna have, you know, a no disqualification match, and then if people just start pulling any and everything out and start hitting each other with it, you know, I think that's fun and there's a place for that. But when it's like formulaic, you know, every pay-per-view has to have a multi-man X-Division match, a hardcore match, a cinematic match. You know what I mean? Like when you're following like and for a while TNA definitely fell into that type of formula, and it gets tiring and exhausting, and it's like, okay, I've seen it. But I think you can, it's all about the story. What story are you telling? You know,
Yeah.
like don't give me a weapons match for the sake of a weapons match. But again, like, you know, do something where, you know, whatever, like they did with James Storm and EC3 that time, when it was like, you know, EC3 like beat him with the belt like in a gruesome way, and so then they had a match where it was like, yo, you know, we got to have this strap match now.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way to do it where, you know, it fits in and it makes sense from a storyline perspective. And I think if you stay committed to doing that, then you can make anything work.
I totally agree with all that. I just feel like they try to tap in this like extreme wrestling audience that I think is really the like even when ECW was popping, it wasn't really that popping. Like I think they try to sometimes tie into this appeal to this audience that just doesn't exist that much anymore.
Hmm.
You know, and even when they were always trying to appeal to the old ECW crowd, like that's appealing to such an older fan base, and
Mm-hmm.
you see that we talked about the ratings were up this week, you know, up almost 200,000. So it was the biggest one since Kenny Omega showed up, and one of their bigger ones in a while. So that's awesome. That's really good. But like I'm gonna start watching Impact on the app because the commercials on XSTV are horrible.
Hmm.
I mean, you see, it's a Frank Thomas commercial, Frank Thomas and Doug Flutie. Low testosterone commercial.
Right.
You know the
Does
car.
your boner not work?
Yeah, you know
Take these pills.
right the real old like 70s, maybe early 80s like rock band documentary videos.
Hmm.
The car commercial. Like, dude, they're so bad. That's a lot of the reason I don't watch it live because I hate the commercials, and it's the same commercials every break. They're
Hmm.
awful. But they're geared towards a very old audience, you know?
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why they keep trying to appeal to that group. when the younger audience likes, you know, the more flippy shit, which I'm not a big fan of
Right.
getting too flippy. And Impact is good about controlling that, but we don't get tope suicidas every match, you know.
Yeah.
But I just feel, you know, when they had this like old school rules, I'm like, dude, who in 2021 is just like, okay, we're, you know, we're going old school. Like at this point, it's not old school because we see it so much, but
Right. That's true.
that's just what I was like thinking. I was like,
It's
dude, I
not
just,
a novelty if it's normal.
you're right, right.
Right.
But that's what I was just thinking. I was like, dude, I just don't think the demographic that they need to really appeal to
Yeah.
cares about that. But they're still like, we're gonna give it to you. Like, we're gonna give you
Right.
kendo sticks. You asked for kendo sticks. We're gonna give you kendo sticks. No, we didn't ask for kendo sticks.
Right.
You know, so
I was just scanning through the comment section on the last week's video, and people drop comments. Keep coming with the comments, but I want some questions. Ask us some questions. Don't you guys want to hear what we think about stuff? I mean, you're sitting here listening to us talk for hours. I know you have some questions. Throw us some questions. We'll answer them. Throw us questions, and we'll answer. You ask, we'll answer.
we will, and maybe we'll even kick off a show with questions if we get enough. Sometimes we do, and just sometimes we don't. It just
Yeah.
changes.
But there was a lot. There was a lot to get into this week.
Absolutely,
There was
so
a lot to get into this week. So.
hopefully we get that. So we'll wrap it up because it's just hit midnight for TW, and I know he wants to go to bed. Usually we go past midnight, so it's good. You know, but we're gonna
turn into a gremlin if I eat. So.
So thanks for checking us out. As always, I am BQ. He is TW. We will talk to you guys next week. Another episode of The Cool Factor. We are out.
Peace.